Good morning. I I thank you for coming to the broadcast today. And however, wherever you are in your homes, in travel, or you might be at work, I'd like you to know that God has an encouraging word for you today. Last night, I received a call, and it was from Pastor Junjun. And he gave me the very disturbing news that there are those that are very close to us that have suffered deaths. In one family, there was four deaths. In another family, there was one, and a host of other things. Pastor Junjun called me up and he was disturbed, and these things, alam nyo, it just flooded my heart with grief. My heart goes out to you. I will not mention your names. You know who you are. But I pray that this message will help us all to be able to see that whatever love that God has for us, it is enough. Bad times do not signify that we are out of God's care. Suffering, difficulty are not a sign that God has turned his back on us. But I pray today that the comfort of God shall go to you, will touch your hearts, comfort you, embrace you, hold you, carry you. The love of God is enough. In the light of all this tragedy, in the light of our this global pandemic and this national crisis that we have, we feel the limited resources. We feel the limited response and the limited capability of everything, of government, of even our neighbor to care. Those that our loved ones, those that are close to us, sometimes we cannot expect their attention anymore. Why? Because they have problems of their own. Sadly, we approach God this way. Ev- Today, there is a rush. When people are sick, they rush to the hospital, and what do they find? They find a lack of facilities all over. We just hit 19,000 cases a day right here. And that is worrisome, it is troubling. And it just shows us how lacking we are, how finite we are. This finiteness, this lack of capability and resources, it gives birth to worry, fear. It's the reason, because we are limited, it's the reason for jealousy. It's the reason for hoarding. It's also the reason for corruption and all that, and whatever problems, greed, and everything associated with having a lack. When we approach God, this is not the case. That's why we cannot understand that He is unlimited, because we have lived in lack. We see lack. We see limits to what we have and what is available. But when it comes to God, He is infinite. And sometimes that's why we cannot believe. But today, I pray that you will listen to, let's go to the Word of God. There's this wonderful, wonderful story where I see the abundance of the Lord. I see how personal He is, and how He is not inconvenienced by our pain. He is not disgusted by our condition. But it's actually the opposite. He chose to dwell with us, to live with us in these conditions, to show that He is right there in the place of your pain, in the place of your shame, He is right there where you hurt. And we only need to open our eyes to that. Like to talk about today, no? Because we've been talking about God loving the mess of our world, the mess of our lives, the mess of our hearts. I'd like to talk about the love of God and how it is enough for everybody. Enough for you, enough for our community, enough for our nation and our world. In Matthew chapter 8, verse 1 to 4, only recently, probably in this past few years, have I seen the beauty of this encounter of Jesus with a leper. This encounter of Jesus with somebody who people show disgust to, who people have not only ignored, but people have rejected, hated even. Jesus has an encounter with the lowliest, the most despicable of our society, the diseased. And we see his tenderness, his generosity, we see his sensitivity to the pain that we have. It says in verse 1, large crowds followed Jesus as he came down the mountainside. He had just spent almost a day with those that adore him, those that believe him, those that follow him. He was being showered with adoration, with praise. He was being showered with compliments because of the teaching that they had heard on the mountain, and that was the Beatitudes. He was being they were all celebrating just being with him because he was such a loving and wonderful person. If he were running for mayor, if he were running for mayor, he probably would win because of the very favorable acceptance of people. So they were walking down the mountain from a time of fellowship, teaching, from a time of bonding, and there they were. And it says, in verse 2, it says, the sentence starts with suddenly, out of the blue, not expected. A leper, a man with leprosy, it says, approaches him, knelt before him. Lord, the man said, if you are willing, you can heal me and make me clean. We have to understand what leprosy is and what it was to, I think, in any culture. There's such a stigma. It is so feared. It is so rejected. People are so scared of it because of how leprosy looks like, how and the fear of being contaminated. So people with leprosy are just shunned. They are persecuted. On top of their disease, they are hated. And the hate is expressed in disgusted stares. The hate is expressed even by pelting or throwing stones at them. They are kicked out. They cannot enter any establishment, and everywhere they go, not only are they ignored, people try to avoid you. Sometimes even avoid looking at you. You feel like you are an offense to society. So there is the hurt, the loneliness, the utter hopelessness of no one caring for you. And I know many times some of us we feel like lepers, especially now when people are taking care of themselves. No one is taking care of you. You feel like a leper and nobody even calls, asks you how you are. And you're in such pain, you are in such trouble, you are worried. But this is the mentality of this leper. He does not have the confidence to approach anyone. He does not, because he feels that he is an inconvenience. He feels that he is hideous. He is ugly beyond help. But he tries. And it takes so much to try. He reaches out to Jesus in all that nervousness. He's scared to even come to Jesus. Why? Because Jesus might look at him with disgust, and Jesus was his only hope. So he breaks into the scene. He stops the march of people by coming to Jesus and saying, "Lord, if you are willing, you can heal me and make me clean." He was a little apologetic. He was just so hesitant, and yet he breaks through all that. He fights it because Jesus, to him, was his only hope. And in verse 3, it says, Jesus, look at this, reaches out. Jesus reached out and touched him. Jesus reached out and touched him. I don't know if you know what that means. It means that now that Jesus had physically touched him, Jesus is now associated with the leper. And because of that, he is rendered ceremonially, religiously unclean. So he cannot enter the temple. He will be treated just as a leper, just as rejected, just as the disgust that is shown lepers will be shown to him. But Jesus associates with him on that level, touches him, and says, I am willing. It's like he was saying, are you silly? I want to. It was like he was saying, you don't need to ask that. I want to. And Jesus said, be healed. In this time when we are all scrambling for limited hospital space, limited attention from government, limited help from our local town leaderships. When we feel frantic that we might not have enough, that other people might go ahead of us, and there might not be enough help and resources for us. This may even be from our friends. We approach them and we say, I hope I'm not bothering you, but I need some comfort. In everything today, there is this feeling of aloneness and desperation because of the lack that is around us. I hope that you will see that the love of God is enough. That the love of God is enough for you and enough for everybody. That when we come to God, when He gives to us His attention, His love, His care, His provision, when that is given to us, it doesn't mean because He gave it to you, He cannot give to others. Why? Because God does not have a budget because He is limitless. Before we can ever realize this, even though it is being expressed, even though God is loving you every day, it really doesn't matter. You're not going to see it if you don't believe it. At some point, you have got to give God a chance. You have got to break through. Just like this leper, you've got to break through your fear, your ideas. You have to break through your experiences. He hurdled all that because everything inside him, inside this leper was saying, don't go because you might be hurt again. Don't go because you might be denied and it will just shatter your dreams. But he breaks through and tells Jesus, Master, Lord, if you're willing, you can heal me and I will be healed. Jesus reaches out, touches him. Jesus could have done it from afar because he already did that with the centurion. But no, Jesus comes close, touches him. And I want you to think, how long has it been that this leper has been touched with tenderness? When was the last time that he experienced a physical touch, a tender touch, a caring touch? So when those hands suddenly touches him, it's not only a touch, to him it meant everything. For somebody who had so little, this was so much. And I'm so touched by this. I have known that loneliness. I have known that pain. So when someone reaches out to you and shows you a little concern, it lights you up. It gives you hope. Suddenly warmth comes upon you and you actually want to shout inside and says, wow, I'm not so bad after all. This leper experiences that. Why? Because the love of God is enough. Firstly, I'd like to say the love of God is enough for the discarded, the hated, and the forgotten. We've experienced this, that the benefits that the aid that our government gives to us, there are those who are not reached by this help. There are those who are not, who do not benefit from this. And the ones who do not benefit are those who are least in our society, and they're the ones who need it most. Those who do not have the ability or the access to those funds, there are people like this, who have no mobility, who do not have the confidence, people who are so broken that they would not even go, and yet they need it the most. If you want to measure the abundance of help, here's one of the things. Does it go to the least? Does it go to the discarded, the hated, and the forgotten? Because there are people around us today that we don't even think about. Why? Because they're not even worth thinking of. They are hidden in the darkness of obscurity, not because they are worthless. It's just because we do not regard them as anything. And usually because there is a lack, it is these people who do not benefit. And I think the reason that Jesus touches the lowest of the low, why Jesus touches those that we have thrown away, those that we hate and do not want to see, those that we have actually forgotten. Why does he touch them? Because he wants to show that his love is enough for them, therefore it is enough for everybody. He chooses to touch those in crisis, in shame. He chooses to touch those that are hidden from our sight so that we know that if He can touch this, He can touch anybody. The love of God is enough for this. There are times in our lives that we really did not see ourselves as value. I want you to know that the love of God is enough for you. That because of your mistakes, the choices that you have made, it has driven you into a hole where you do not feel like you're even worth loving. And you are so scared of human interaction because of the pain that all that brings. I want you to know that God has not forgotten you. He does not discard you. He does not hate you. He is not driven back by your sin. One of the things I get frustrated about is how the holiness of God is presented by religion, but it makes you feel like you don't measure up. We already know we don't measure up. When God does not bring to us standards, He brings to us love. That does not, of course, give us license to live the way we want, but it gives us hope. It gives us hope that we are loved, even though because of our doing, we have gotten ourselves in trouble. God comes to us, and the love of God is enough for us. Sometimes we look at people and we hate them, and we cannot even love them because of the choices, the lifestyle, because of their practice. I want you to know the love of God is enough for them. And when God loves them, it doesn't mean that God is not loving you. He loves you. The love of God is enough for even the people that we hate. That's why God touches this leper. It's magnificent. He spends a whole day teaching, bonding, talking, enjoying the people that follow him. So now that he comes down, of course, you're wondering, he may be tired. No. God is never tired for those who are discarded, hated, and forgotten. God will never be too tired for you because it is you. It is you that He came for. This abundant, this gracious, generous love of God is for you. This wonderful, splendorous love of God is for you. All of you that have failed, all of you that have had your dreams shattered, your hopes trampled upon. It's for you. A generous, sensitive, gentle love that is for you. If you will only chance it. If you will only give God a chance. What happens when we believe? Belief is not something to attain. Belief is giving God a chance on the claims that He makes. Believing is saying, okay, I'll believe. And you know what happens to our life when we start to believe? What happens in our life, we start a journey where God begins to show you the fact of His love. But if you don't believe and you don't give God a chance, then even when He is loving you, you're not going to see it. Because everything that comes to you will not be love. Everything that comes to you will be because, oh, it's a coincidence. Oh, it's this and that. Oh, it's whatever. But give God a chance and believe Him today that His love is enough. If it was enough for the leper, what he was trying to say throughout the centuries is, if I love a leper like this, how can I not love you? This is what this verse is trying to say. Secondly, the thing that I see in this encounter with the leper is the love of God is enough to be dangerous. What does that mean? Sometimes there are people we do not want to be associated with because they are trouble. Sometimes there are people that if you become friends with them, then together comes the headache, the heartache. Their troubles are going to be a weight on us. So what do? We simply do not want to be associated with them. Why? Because if you're associated with a leper, then you will also get the disgust, the prejudice. You're going to get the discrimination, the hate of the society that hates them. So in short, this leper is a potential headache. But what does Jesus do? He goes over, not only talks to the leper, talking to him was dangerous already, but to touch him. When Jesus touched him, everyone who was following Jesus suddenly felt like, whoa, now we can't touch Jesus. Probably their opinions have changed. Probably Jesus lost their vote. Suddenly the joy became silence. Why? Because that meant that now Jesus is a potential leper. But Jesus, in loving you, He doesn't care about the danger of loving you. The love of God is enough to be dangerous. He's not thinking about the headache you're going to give him. He's thinking of you and the relief that he can give. Jesus, when he comes and has a relationship with us, he is not coming from weakness. He doesn't come to you so that you can give him your worship. He doesn't come to you so that you can give him your life. He doesn't come to you so that you can give him adoration, your allegiance, your loyalty. That's not how God is. He is brimming, exploding with power, of joy, of love. And so he comes to you wanting to give. He already knows how broken you are. Sometimes people, because he has been portrayed by religion that you have to change your life, you have to change, you have to adhere to the standards and all this. You know what that does? It's showing you a God who is severe, who is not loving, who is unmerciful. But here, Jesus comes to him. I don't care what people think. I don't care if I lose their vote. I don't care if I lose their admiration. I don't care. I want to love you now. That's what he was saying to this leper. I come to you because I want to give you something. I don't come here so that you need to change your religion or you need to change your ways. I come here because I just want to love you. There was nothing that he could get from this leper, only headaches, only trouble. But the love of God is enough to be dangerous. It was beautiful. It meant so much to the leper. The thing is, it also meant so much to Jesus to be able to love this pitiful sight, this broken soul, this anguished person. It was like he was saying, oh goody, I have a chance to love you. This is the way God is. His love is enough to be dangerous. Thirdly, his love is enough to be extravagant. Jesus could have stood at a distance and said, don't come closer, be healed. That's politically better for me. I don't lose their vote and you get healed. That's not being generous. That's not being extravagant. That's just giving enough so that the person would go away. Jesus doesn't bless you so that you can go away and stop being a problem to him. Do you understand that? So don't ever come to God and say, okay, I did what you did. We're good. No, that's not the point of God. The point of God is this. He wants in to your life. He wants in your trouble. He wants in your recuperation. He wants in even when you are angry with him. He wants in that anger for him. so that He can help you heal, help you in every way. The love of God is enough to be extravagant. You know, if, for example, if you had many children, you couldn't be extravagant. Why? Because the money is limited. But He could afford to be extravagant because He was unlimited. He could afford to be extravagant because this is love. To give what you do not deserve, to give over and above what you expect, to give, you ask for healing and He gives you friendship. You ask for healing and He gives you your life back. You come just to be healed of the leprosy. And you know what He gives you? He gives you your future back. The love of God is enough to be extravagant. And if you will just allow Him, you will see it. You may look at the world today and you may ask, what is the love of God? You may look at the world today, at the Philippines today, in our case, or in whatever country you're in right now. You may look at it and ask, where is the love of God? You're not going to see it on a national level, but I promise you, you will see it on a personal level because that's where He is. He doesn't sit as a ruler, He comes as a friend. He does not reign as a great king separate from his subjects. No, He walks the streets and sits with you on the sidewalk and cries with you in your dark, dark, small, small space. Because that's how He is. I have long asked these questions. Where are you? Why is there poverty? Where are you? Why is there illness? Where are you? There is chaos in the world. It's a mess. Where are you? He's there in the middle of the mess, loving somebody. Because His love is personal. He is great, but He projects Himself as intimate. He is there with you. The suggested title for this message is God is not pizza. Meaning, if when you take one slice of the pizza, there's less for everybody. That's not the way it is. These are our concepts because we are limited. But allow God to show you just how extravagant He is because He can afford it. Because He loves you. You may sit there, you may even be cynical. But I'm asking, and I know the Lord is asking, give Him a chance. Surrender a little. Probably say, okay, I'll give Him a chance. He'll work with that. You may be sitting there dissatisfied and angry, despondent. You may be there, throwing a tantrum, whatever that is. But if you'll give Him a chance, you will spend a lifetime discovering what He has to say. We never hear what people say if we don't give them a chance. If off the bat we will reject, if off the bat we will allow our opinions to just reject everything and not hear, then we don't benefit at all from what the person wants to give. You know what the leper did? He gave Jesus a chance to prove himself wrong. Because in the mind of the leper, he said people are hateful. In the heart of the leper, I'm sure there was anger and I'm sure there was hate too. But when he sees Jesus, he says, I'm gonna try this guy. he mustered the little hope that he has in humanity, and he gives and he chances it. He bets on Jesus. I have a small hope here. It's not big, but I'll bet on Jesus. I have a little bit more patience, a little bit more effort left. I'll bet it on Jesus. Guess what? He did not get hope. He did not get what he didn't get his money back. He got his life, his future, he got his heart, he got his soul back and more. He found destiny, redemption. He found hope. He found love not only enough for himself, but hope to give back. He found love so that he can forgive those that hurt him. He found a love that made him look at tomorrow and smile again. Give Jesus a chance. Give God a chance. Let him in. Bet on him. That little belief, that little hope, that little effort that you may still give. You're not going to lose, I promise you. I don't know what happened to the leper after that, because it's not written. But I do know that after this, the leper had found a friend who will walk with him the rest of his days. And I hope you find that too this morning. Thank you for coming to the broadcast. Thank you for being with us. I hope somehow that this has helped your mind, healed your heart, and embraced your soul. We all need it so badly during these desperate times. There's loneliness out there that is terrible. If you will allow the love of God to just fill your heart today and heal you, you can probably be an agent of change by giving away what you have received from the Lord. God bless you, everybody. The love of God is enough for all of us. You have a blessed morning and a wonderful week. Bye.